Hey guys, welcome to another class titled Born to be Wise. We're still on Buddhism, plain and simple. This is part 4. In this class, I will be talking about the vital role which merit plays in our flourishing in this world, as well as in our awakening. Okay, right. Start with a little story. Valdemar, brother of Valdemar, was a convict. He was a convict whose incarceration in various prisons had extended to over 25 years. Yep, 25 years in prison. As a criminal, he was considered to be the most callous and intractable prisoner the guards had ever come across. Crazy fellow, wild, unpredictable. Not only were the inmates afraid of him, so were the guards. Huge guy. Valdemar. Then, one auspicious morning, a tiny little mouse came into his cell. A hunted and despised creature like he was. A tiny little mouse. When he saw that little visitor, he could identify with it because he also was a hunted, despised creature. And his criminal hardened heart opened to that little fellow being. The compassion he felt for that little fellow being, the similarity he felt, the bonding he felt was tremendous. These kind of feelings he had never experienced in his criminal hardened heart ever before. Nope. No human had touched that side of him before. But this tiny little mouse, which came into his cell, opened his heart immeasurably. And so he befriended it. Gave him some crumbs, gave him some things to eat, fed it, tended to it, played with it. And there was an old boot, one of his boots was in his cell, made a little home for it. And he kept it in the boot. He played with him daily, loved it, cherished it. Guess what happened next? Over the months that he cherished, played, and loved this tiny fellow being, the hatred that he had felt his whole life towards his oppressors started to fade. Faded by default. The deep-seated anger he had carried with him his whole life also faded. The violence faded. All those negative frequencies inside of him gone with the wind. The guards couldn't figure out how this guy was transforming himself right before their eyes. He was no longer that crazy, wild being that they were afraid of. Here now was a fellow who was glowing in his appearance. His eyes sparkled with love instead of hatred. The features changed. They couldn't understand how this was happening to this guy. Couldn't. Because this criminal was no longer a criminal. He was saved, converted, wide awake to the beauty that was in and around him, restored to humanity, and set firmly on the path to salvation. All because, all because of his deep love and cherishing for just a tiny little creature. Can you imagine? The guards only figured out what happened to him after his early release from prison. Yeah, he was released early because he saw that this guy is no longer a threat to the community. He was released. And when he left with his prized possession. The little mouse in the boot took it with him. And that's when the guards realized, wow, it could be this friendship with the mouse that has transformed a wild beast into a beautiful human being. Fascinating stuff. So, what does the story tell you? It is the absence. It's the absence of love and wisdom in most people's lives that leads to all kinds of difficulties: physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, financial, social, you name it. It's the absence of love and wisdom, not enough, sometimes not even there, that creates the misery on this beautiful planet. And the only solution is for us to learn to be wise and loving. There is no other solution. Money cannot buy it. All right, born to be wise. Let's see what this means. Wise people through the ages have been telling us, but nobody's listening, but they've been telling us, yelling at us, urging us. Hey guys, listen. Listen to this ancient truth. Listen to this ancient rule of life. To flourish in this world, there's this rule, and you need to abide by this rule. And what is the rule? That even though most of us may not be up to doing great things, most of us are not called to do great things in any given rebirth, but all of us are capable, more than capable, of doing small things with great love. Can do. Yeah? Although most of us may not have it within us to do great things in a given lifetime, but all of us are more than capable of doing small things with great amount of love. And it is imperative for us to live in this fashion if we're going to live a beautiful life. But who's listening? I hope you are. So, in this class, I will be talking about the incredible importance for us to honor this rule. Incredible importance. And how do we honor this rule? It is by the outpouring, the daily outpouring of praiseworthy actions. Actions that accumulate merit, meritorious actions. Yeah, not actions that accumulate suffering, actions that accumulate merit. Now, when we talk about the accumulation of merit, most people have a little aversion to it. Why is that? Because many of us view merit making as a selfish or self centered way of living. But it doesn't have to be like that. Yeah, selfish or self centered way of living. For instance, oh Lord, I'm going to build a hospital. But then, hey, you will do something for me in return, won't you? Pay big bucks in the church or the temple or the synagogue in exchange for favors. Yeah. That's how most people work towards the gaining of merit. Yeah, it's a transaction with the Lord. Or just to let people know how wonderful we are. Yeah, merit making because of ego trips, greed, or whatever. And because of that, the making of merit has acquired a bad name. But it doesn't have to be like that. We can make merit in the right way. And it is absolutely essential for us to do so. So, what is merit making? Why are people drawn to it, even though they're drawn to it in a negative way? Unconsciously or subconsciously, we know there's some value there. It's just that because we're not spiritually awake, we don't know how to access merit correctly. Yeah? So, what is merit making actually? What is it? Meritorious actions, praiseworthy actions. What's it about? It is about creating the fertile conditions for us to flourish in this world and for us to flourish even in spiritual terms. Fertile conditions. Because even the best seed, if planted in infertile conditions, not the right conditions, will not really germinate. We needed the right conditions to flourish in world and in spiritual terms. Not right conditions, very difficult, if not impossible. So merit making essentially is the process of accumulating those forces, the process of harnessing universal forces to support us in achieving our deepest desires, worldly as well as spiritual. Simple. That's what merit making is about. This is an important part of the Buddha's teachings, but it is not talked about very often. It's not talked about. People don't understand it. And yet it is very, very important. Because that's merit making. You're creating through your actions fertile conditions for flourishing in this world and for your practice to gain traction towards awakening. Yes, yes, yes. So, the accumulating of merit is absolutely important or essential because without it, we cannot access higher levels of awareness. Cannot. Only through supersonic merit do we access higher levels of awareness. How? Because merit is essentially the coin of the realm. You know what that means? I'll explain soon. Stay tuned. But it is the coin of the realm which opens doors for us everywhere. Outstanding doors, outstanding opportunities, outstanding possibilities open up for us through merit. And that is why it is so very essential. Now, before I go into the nitty gritties of the what, why, and how of merit, let us take a look at something else first. In the same way that there's the right way and an immoral way to accumulate wealth in this world, there is a right way and an unskillful way of accumulating merit. Clear? Just as there's a right way and an immoral, incorrect, unskillful way of becoming wealthy in this world, there's a right way and a totally unskillful way of making merit. So, what is it? What does this mean? The greater our self-obsession, profit-making, greed, negative states behind the making of merit, I'll do this if I can get that. Yeah, ulterior motives. The more these unwholesome frequencies in the desire to accumulate merit, the less the value of the merit. Simple. And merit has values, different levels, different grades. Just as in this world, there are different currencies. Yeah. Pounds, euros, dollars, US. High currencies, different values. $1 is not the same value as one Indian rupee. No, no. One Indian rupee has much less value than a US dollar. Same thing. When we're hoping to accumulate merit through the faulty means, value plummets. Yeah, lesser the value. But when we do things for others, we build a hospital, not because we want our name on it, not because we want to be seen as Mr. Generous or what, Madam Generous, simply because that's what we are. We just love to help. We just want to make a difference in the planet. Yeah. When we do it without any self-centered motives, profit-making motives, then we acquire dollar equivalent of merit, not Indian rupees. Understand? Value increases exponentially. The less self-centered we are, the less transactional we are, the greater the merit, which means the greater the conditions for awakening, lesser conditions for awakening when it is not skillfully done. All right. So now we come to this other question. What is the best way to make big merit, big bucks? Here's a secret. Tattoo in the mind. The best way to make merit is to not even think about making merit. You're not doing something to get something back. No. The best way in which to accumulate supersonic amounts of merit is to not even think about making merit, but to simply serve others tirelessly, yeah, with copious amounts of love and compassion and wisdom to bettering their lives in whichever way that you can. Some people better people's lives through music, others through dance, others through art, others through science, others through medicine. Whichever way is your calling, you do it not to get something back, but simply as an outflow of the joy that resides in you, of the compassion that resides in you. You do it as a reflex of the exemplary person you have chosen to be, not because of a transaction. Not like people, the 9 to 5 jobs, it's a transaction. I'll give you so much of my time, then I want the salary. Mm-mm-mm. Transaction. The best way to make merit, and that too, supersonic versions of merit. Don't even think about it. Although in the back of your mind, you have to know that you need the right conditions, but you're not doing it even to make those right conditions. You're just doing it as an effusion of the love that's inside of you. All right? Guess what happens then? Guess what happens so then? Ah, then you don't even have to go around seeking merit. It comes seeking you. It comes seeking you and bringing with it extraordinary gifts from beyond. What does that mean? It comes seeking you. Ah, when you're loving the world as your family, as you would love a child that's ailing, and you want to do something about that ailing child, you see the world as your global family, and you see the suffering in the world, and you wish to contribute something to the world, not because you want something back from the child or from the world, just because that's what you are. We're all wired by the good Lord, thankfully, to look out for each other. So when we are really out there, it's a global community. We're all one big family. You can't just think of your tiny little family. You belong to the world. It's a global family. See the suffering in the world and you reach towards making it better without any thoughts of rewards, none. That's when merit comes seeking you. And it comes seeking you in the form of serendipities, in the form of opportunities and possibilities for your upliftment. Unbidden. You need help, comes to you like that. You're in trouble, Comes to you like that. You want this? Comes to you like that. Yes. You don't have to go seeking for the conditions. The conditions come seeking you. Why? Because you're in rapport with life. You're in rapport with universal forces. And that's how you harness them. Huh? This is called personal refinement. Personal refinement. You can't act like this without personal refinement. When the mind is coarse, it's always thinking about oneself. Me, 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 me. I, me, and mine. I, me, and mine. There is no I, first of all. There is no localized entity. We're all one seamless whole. Ladies and gentlemen, wakey, wakey. This is how to accumulate shiploads of merit. Shiploads, not even truckloads, containerfuls. But hey, there's a little more to this story. Just as a bicycle mechanic has value, that's his calling. He fixes bicycles. And if you have a bike, you value the fellow or felly, right? But then there's also the fellow who repairs bones. Break a bone, call a doctor. We value a doctor little more than we value the bicycle mechanic. He has his value. This fellow has his value. But then, how about those guys who fix people's mind? Psychologists, yeah? Here's a person who's deeply depressed. Here's a person who's really traumatized. We value those guys also, yeah? They're offering a service of possibly even greater value than physical needs. And then we have people who serve us to know our spirit. Top class value. Yeah, spiritual teachers. Each one is serving in their own particular way. But here the point is that the best form of merit, we talked about the best way, the best form of merit is to educate people to be spiritually awake. That's the best form. Highest value. Why? Because the ailments and the suffering, physical, emotional, psychological, financial, all this springs from being spiritually illiterate, spiritually misinformed. So it's best to plug the cause that's leading to all these effects. Fix the spirit, and the mind will be peaceful. Emotions are supersonic. Body is in super great shape. Everything falls into place. But you just fix the body and not the mind. Not enough. I don't know if I've already said this story before. I have in private classes, not on video. But let me just say it again. When I was in the US, I had a friend over there who said to me, Baram, my mother has been in hospital for the past couple of years. And in those few years she's been there, she's had 16 operations. 16, where they chip this, chop that, take this out, take that out. Yeah. The doctors are happy because you're funding their heaven Hawaii. No, not heaven Hawaii. Their Hawaiian vacations. Yeah. No doctor was telling her, honey, this illness, this reality has emanated from a wonky mind, from wonky thinking, not checking on the mind, only working with the body. Ridiculous. 16 operations. So, the best form of merit is to educate people to be spiritually awake so that they do not engage in wrongdoing, which leads to all kinds of illnesses, physical, emotional, psychological, social illnesses. Yep. Right. You got that? How to make merit? Best way? Do not think about it. The best form of merit? You first have to be clued in to the importance of personal refinement. Because if you are not spiritually awake, how do you awaken anybody else? You can't. Just book knowledge, just words, empty words. So, once again, Buddhism, or what the Buddha says, is you guys, you have to make a positive difference on the planet if you want to be awake. But the only way to do it is for you to be awake. How do you do that? Stay tuned. Okay. Let us look at the gigantic way, humongous way in which merit serves us. Okay? Right? Merit is termed as the coin of the realm in universal terms. Coin of the realm. What does that mean? Just as being wealthy in this world, big bucks. If you're really wealthy, you can buy your way into pretty much everything, even if you're a weirdo. Yeah. You can, here's $1 million. I want to have tea with the queen. And open the doors, and you'll have tea and cakes with the queen or the president of a country. Even though you're a nutcase, the wealth will buy you the wildest things in this world, but not happiness. You can't buy happiness. You can't buy your insight. But the worldly things, yes. But non-worldly things, you need a different currency. Merit is the coin of the realm. So the things which worldly wealth cannot buy, merit does. It doesn't really buy it. It creates the conditions for it. Yeah? Opens doors everywhere. Fantastic. Absolutely magnificent doors everywhere. With your worldly wealth, it's impossible for you to buy a better rebirth. If you have been living a wasted, reckless, indulgent life, no matter how much money or power or name and fame you have in this world, it is absolutely useless in determining where you'll be reborn. Well, no, especially if you want to be reborn in the right spot. It will determine where you'll be reborn, but where you will be reborn will not be a happy zone, possibly up in the Kalahari, eating beetles. Who knows? All right. The enormous value of merit is it opens doors for us in every dimension of our lives. So, can you name three supersonic dimensions, three supersonic blessings that merit gives to us? When we live correctly, how do we benefit from it? Can you tell me? The first benefit, supersonic benefit, ultrasonic benefit, is it not only allows us to flourish in this life, but it guarantees us a magnificent life once we pop. Not just one life, yeah? It guarantees our progress towards awakening with the fewest of obstacles coming our way. That's the coin of the realm. Opens doors for us everywhere, creates spectacular conditions for us everywhere. The importance of merit. First one, best rebirth. Once you pop, you can rest assured not only that you will get a sea view chalet in heaven, Hawaii, for a short period of time because you have to come back. Yeah, you have a great time out there somewhere, enjoying yourself, heaven, Hawaii, surfing the waves. But then when you come back into this world, and you have to come back in here to awaken, you can't awaken from anywhere else, only from this planet. So sorry. When you come back, what would be the ideal conditions in which you could flourish in this world? What would you wish for on your next trip to planet Earth? What would you wish for? A beautiful rebirth. What does it mean to you? A beautiful rebirth, magnificent rebirth equates with the following. First and foremost, a healthy self-image. Healthy, robust, supersonic self-image. Because when your self-image is in place, you will not be interested in wrongdoing. Wrongdoing occurs because self-image is flawed. And a faulty self-image makes us do things which are not in our favor. Yeah, solid self-image, immune to wrongdoing. And from that self-image, our character is even better consolidated. The kindness, the gentleness, the compassion, the wisdom, the caring for others, solid character. I'll be talking about this in the next two sets of classes. Yeah, it's called the 10 perfections. How to perfect ourselves. What exactly does personal refinement mean? I'll be talking about it. Stay tuned. So, healthy self-image will lead to a healthy character, especially courage, because we need the courage to take those necessary risks that allow us to find our strengths. You can't find your strengths if you're living in mouse mode. Yeah, you need the courage to step out into the unknown, to discover those hidden resources, which right now, remember what I said in the last class? It is only great necessities that give rise to great virtues. We need to step out of the playing field with courage, right? Beautiful temperament, beautiful personal qualities, then of course your relationships will be supersonic. You don't marry someone who turns into a nightmare for you. Yeah? Your relationships are profound. You discover your calling. Health is there. Good habits are there. That's what a great rebirth is about. The forming of the right habits that allow you to prosper in the world. Because unwholesome habits no allow to prosper. Yes, you might make money scamming people, but then when the conditions ripen for that wrongdoing, then the suffering comes. Okay, all right. The first fantastic benefit of merit is a beautiful rebirth. No regrets. Beautiful rebirth. We age well, we die well. No problems. Happily. Yeah, we live well, we age well, we die well. Whatever comes our way, we're right there. In those moments of decision, whenever Goliath comes our way, we're ready for him. Okay, that's the first incredible blessing. We are born to be wise. We have no resistance to personal refinement. We are born to be wise or wiser. Like most people on the planet, I grew up with friends in Lagos who took drugs, smoked, drank, womanized, gambled, all kinds of rubbish. I grew up with these guys, yeah? My classmates, friends. I was not once drawn to that kind of rubbish. Not once. Hey, Biram, take a drag. It's nice, good stuff. Just try it. Hey, Biram, pop this pill. Try it. It's great stuff. Thanks, buddy. You go for it. I'm not interested. I had the firewall against faulty habits. And this firewall that I had, I was not attracted to these faulty ways of living, not one bit, even though I was right there in the midst of it. I was not influenced by it. Why? Because of the work I had put in towards personal refinement lifetimes ago. It carries forward. It carries forward. It's not wasted. Yeah? I'm where I'm today because of what I did previous rebirths. It's carrying forward. So, whatever efforts we put into personal refinement right now equates with merit that looks after us, creates the conditions for our flourishing. I have flourished in this world. My friends, half of them are dead. Half of them are dead from those bad habits. The other half, you get those binoculars, they're in the zombie forest. They're living in the zombie forest. Poor guys. Terrible. Okay, so we need those ideal conditions to safeguard us from wrongdoing and to keep us on the straight and narrow path to awakening. First point. Well, almost. Here is an example of a tragic rebirth. Many years ago, a middle aged woman was on one of my retreats. And during these retreats, I meet with the students every day to check where they're at in their practice. One on one counseling. Yeah. So during this counseling session, this woman told me this story, which was a little bit horrifying. She said, you know, Master B, from all these teachings that I'm receiving, my eyes are just opening up. I want to just share something with you, Master B, and it's this. Since the time I conceived my child, conceived, not even born yet, conceived the child, I had no feelings for it, no love, no feelings. Okay, conceived. I'm not going to abort it. I have it, but I have no feelings for it. And when my daughter was born, even then, I had no feelings for her, no love for her. I fed her, I educated her, I did everything for her to make her happy, except love her. Everything. I never told her I didn't love her. I pretended I loved her, but I didn't feel it. And she could pick it up from day one. And she picked up my lack of love for her and treated me terribly to punish me for not loving her. And no matter how much I tried to love her, she was a beautiful girl, but I had no feelings for her, Master B. And to this day, she's 19. Our relationship is. But now I'm learning how to change things around for the better. Thank you, Master B. Understand? These kind of tragic realities, they don't just happen by chance or by accident. Why was this child, why was this spirit, why did it take birth through this woman who would not feel any love for her? Why? Why wasn't the spirit born in some other household where she would be loved? Why was this woman in a situation where she attracted that spirit? Why? How did these things happen? By chance and accident? Not at all. These tragic consequences are ordained in the very nature of unwholesome actions. Ordained. It's in the very nature of an unwholesome action to produce an unwholesome outcome. Not a pleasant outcome, unwholesome. Papaya no can grow on mango trees. That is why the imperative need for us to be spiritually awake. Second, incredibly important blessing which merit bestows upon us. Most people in this world, if you look, most people in this world, they are mercenaries. Mercenaries, which means they work for love, they work for money, not for love. They work for money to survive. They're not thriving, they're just surviving. They're working 9 to 5 jobs or whichever kind of jobs for money, wealth, and the pleasures that wealth can buy. Yeah. The majority of beings on this planet are mercenaries. They're working for money and not for love. And because they work for money and not for love, no matter how much money they make, they're still miserable, not happy enough. Not happy enough. Think of the alcohol problems on the planet, making the big bucks and sloshing away and smoking away and drugging away. And of course, shopping sprees, buying things you don't need, then storing it in the storage rooms. Yeah, brilliant way of living. Yeah, most people are not happy. Money can't buy it. Think of the years added up, wasted watching TV or on social media or on distractions of countless types. People are just lost. So here is where merit comes into the picture. It places us in touch with our calling. Most people are not in touch with their calling. They're working for money, not for love. Ah, I discovered my calling when I was 23, 24, January 1980. Brilliant. Since then, no deviation. The joy I feel through the study and practice of the Dhamma and through the sharing of the teachings with others, no amount of money can buy. None. Yeah, I discovered my calling early in life, and I've stayed true to it till now, and will be true to it till I pop. But here's a story. Okay. Okay. Rewind. How did I discover my calling? Life has its crazy ways. Crazy. But it's life and it's beautiful. I was going through a crisis in the US in college. I was in conflict with the dean of my faculty. Didn't like the fellow at all. It was a little weird. We won't go to in the public talk, can't tell you. But I was facing this crisis. I was in a deep, deep ditch, depression, anger, rage, frustration. And a good friend of mine, a Japanese fellow in the photography section, he said to me, Bella, though I don't like this, Bella. You must get out of this. I have done a training here, very important. It has transformed my life. You try it. It will be great for you. And me, like most people, nah, I don't need all that shit. Yeah, I resisted. Yeah, I resisted till the pain got too much. Then I said, okay, all right, because he kept nagging me. I'll give it a shot. Went, subscribed to the training, EST, Earhart Seminar Training, which is today called Landmark Forum. For those of you who want to give it a shot, give it a shot. It transformed my life. Whew. One of the best decisions I've ever made in my life was to join that seminar, right? So, suffering coupled with the wisdom I had brought me in there. Even though I was depressed, my wisdom would not allow me to take drugs or to take alcohol or to do any other crazy thing. My wisdom held me safe and it brought me through that crisis to my calling, right? That's merit, big amounts. But here's a story you'll enjoy. In 1984, December, I'd already come back to India from the US after graduation in 1983, September. In 1984, January, I was on my quest to find teachers and teachings in India. That's a side story. Anyway, I joined a 20-day retreat in Bodh Gaya in December 84, led by Christopher Titmuss, beautiful, beautiful English fellow who would come to India every winter to offer teachings. And I joined his retreat. On that retreat, I met this New Yorker, black haired, black eyes, beautiful girl, beautiful, beautiful girl, Susan. And we became friends. Not hanky panky friends, just friends. Okay. Before the retreat and even after the retreat. And we did the retreat together. Okay. We had this bonding. And because of this close bonding, we decided to exchange addresses. I told her I would be heading to Manali after the retreat, further my practice. And she said she was heading off to Dharamshala to further her practice. Dharamshala is where His Holiness lives. That's where Tibetan Lamas are teaching the Dhamma. Okay, so we after the retreat, we went our separate ways. Me in Manali, she over there. No mobiles, no address. I was living in the huts. Which address? Postal, PO box. There in Manali, I don't know when, but I received this long letter from her. And in this letter, she tells me, Baram, something really wild has happened for me. Absolutely crazy. Long. After I finished my retreat in Dharamshala, she did a retreat there at Lama Zopa Center there. I decided to go on a trek with a friend of mine up the mountains. Remember, this is Dharamshala in those days, well, even now, there are bears and leopards and all kinds of things hanging out over there, along with crazy villagers who like to rape the foreign students, foreigners. So she went on this trek with a friend. And on the way back, they spent the night there, beautiful mountains. Oh, yummy, yummy. On the way back, she noticed a cave. This is early spring, yeah, in Dharamshala. Early spring. She noticed this cave and she said to her friend, "Hey, let's see what's inside the cave." And he said to her, "Look, not a good idea. Let's keep going down. This is a long way down." No, no, I want to see what's inside the cave. So she took off her backpack. He waited and she went and she peeked inside the cave. It wasn't a huge cave, just a small cave. That's when her merit ripened in the form of a bear. Mama Bear was in the cave with her babies. Early spring. Hmm. She saw these jaws of death coming at her. Yeah. And she just, to save her face, she put her head down like this. And from within her came this deep om. Om. Some kind of strange sound emerged. The bear grabbed her on the head, and as soon as it heard that sound, it let go of the head and it pushed her out and ran, with the babies following her. And there was Susan. Blood sprouting from her head. Her friend was horrified when he saw all that happening. And you know how when people are mortally wounded in war or in any kind of situation, they somehow are able to gather their resources till they reach safety and then they collapse. So that's what happened with Susan. She knew she was out in the wilderness. There was still maybe a 2 hour walk to safety. So he patched her up with some cloth and they walked down. There was no way he was going to carry her and the backpack and everything. They walked to safety and there she collapsed, taken to the hospital. She's writing all this. And then, as she was recuperating, she realized what her calling was. Yeah. And she decided to go to Thailand. And in Thailand, she went northeast to Ajahn Chah's monastery. And that's where she ordained as a nun, a New Yorker. She had no idea what she was going to do with her life when I met her. But now she knew she was destined to be a nun and serve people by awakening them to their spiritual resources. Wow, I thought, wow, fantastic story. Susan, hot stuff, baby. Anyway, we lost contact. Then in 1992, 93, I was in England teaching. This happened in 1994, 95, 84, 85. 85, I got the letter. 93, I was visiting Ajahn Chah's monastery in England. Yeah, because I was connected to them somehow. I was there with a friend. And my friend had gone somewhere, I don't know where she'd gone. And I was just sitting there outside one hall, and monks and nuns walking around. And there from the right side walked this nun. And as she passed by, shaved head, I saw these scars. I saw these scars the bear had left on her head with the teeth marks. And immediately I said, "Susan?" And she turned around and she looked at me. "Beram? Yeah, where have you been?" It was such a great connection. We sat together and she told me some more details about her story. And it was beautiful to see her radiant there, in touch with her calling. making such a beautiful difference in the lives of how many people. She's still a nun. She's no longer Susan. She's now Sister Thanasanti. That is a second, absolutely supersonic blessing which comes from merit. We're no longer mercenaries. We don't work for the money. We work for the joy of seeing other people bloom into their best. We work for the joy of contributing our best in whichever form, even if it's a bicycle mechanic. Okay. And the third one, the third really amazing benefit of merit it keeps us firmly on the path to awakening, firmly, securely on the path to awakening from an early age. As soon as I turned 13, it was almost like a switch went on in my head, and I started reading books to discover my strengths and my weaknesses so I could perfect them, so I could deal with them voraciously. While my friends were drinking and smoking and doing weird things, yes, I had some fun, bikes and so on, but I was engaged. I had this passion to discover my strengths. I read books on astrology to know my sun sign, palmistry, numerology, handwriting analysis, books on self help, anything to discover and to express my strengths from the age of 13. How many people do that? Yeah, it keeps us steady on the path to awakening. The right habits have taken root in us, can't be removed anymore. Yeah. And because we are dedicated to higher values, it is natural that we will be drawn to people and experiences that heighten us, that enrich us, not people who are engaged in faulty habits. I've had deep friendships with amazing people, amazing people. I've had deep friendships with amazing teachers. I'm here today because of those incredible teachers that I attracted into my life. Absolutely amazing, fertile conditions for my awakening and for anybody else's merit. In 1986, I had traveled to 3 countries to deepen my practice. Yeah, I was already training in India, but then I decided, let me check out some other countries. So I went to Thailand, Sri Lanka, and Japan. Now, at this time, I was on a shoestring budget. I wasn't making money, not enough money, and yet I traveled to 3 countries. How? Stay tuned for my autobiography. When I was in Sri Lanka, my visa was running out, and there's no way I could extend it because you have to show proof of funds, and my funds were close to zero. No extension visa. Yet I traveled to Japan. Yeah. So how did that happen? We won't go into the details. We're running out of time. But while I was in Sri Lanka, I didn't want to come back to India. I was not ready for India yet. I wanted to go to Japan. I didn't know anyone in Japan. I had very little money. How was I going to get there? Where would I go? Merit opens doors in the wildest ways, like it did for Susan. This guy comes, this German fellow comes straight from Japan. And out of all the places he could have gone on his way to Germany, he came to that retreat center where I was. Yeah, that retreat center where I was. And he didn't really bond with anybody else, just with me and me with him. Yeah, I bonded with other people, but for him, just me. And we became, well, good friends. We lost contact, but he told me that he'd come from this incredible monastery with this incredible teacher over there. And he gave me all the details I needed once I went to Japan. Then he's gone in a week, gone. But I still remember him. Shaved head, black dress, round face, beautiful fellow. We chatted and chatted and chatted, and he inspired me to the heavens to go to Japan. But where was the money? I ain't telling you. Not in this class. Stay tuned for more. Money came. The wild things came, and I went to Japan. Oh, what an incredible experience. Incredible. This, my friends, is merit. I couldn't have done it. Even with money, how would I attract this guy to come to me? How did it happen? Just think of the chances of this kind of synchronicity happening, that I'm interested to go to Japan. And there, the good Lord sends this messenger from heaven to meet me and guide me to exactly where I needed to be. Fantastic place, northwest of Kyoto. Beautiful teacher, beautiful, beautiful teacher. Okay, so let's just get on. Let's just get on. The voice of intuition. The voice of intuition is always at the center of personal refinement. The voice of intuition is always at the center of personal refinement. I'm talking about the third benefit, okay? Just going through with it. All these things happen because of the personal refinement that I have engaged in for who knows how many lifetimes, that have put me where I am today, firmly. Yeah. So the voice of intuition is always at the center of personal refinement. And this voice is heard by everyone, anyone who lives a deeply enriching life, not a Netflix, social media life. Nah. Shallow living, wasted life. The voice of intuition is always at the center of personal refinement. And that sweet, silent voice, actually, that voice is not always silent. Sometimes it's the way I felt it. It's this deep. I felt it as a masculine voice, okay, but it's a deep voice. And when it talks, you can't help but listen. You can't help but seize the moment when it talks. Okay, so it is there, it is heard, Even when it is silent, it is heard very clearly by all those who are deeply committed to an enriching life. It's not a voice that is like the normal chattering in the mind. It's a different voice altogether. But it is uncanny in the way it guides us. Uncanny. It not only safeguards us from wrongdoing, we're not interested in smoking and drinking and wasting our life on non essentials. No, not at all. It not only safeguards us from wrongdoing in its any form, but it also points us. It points us to spell-binding possibilities. Spell-binding possibilities. Possibilities which are not within the reach of those who live in their complacent zones. Not within their reach. It's not even on their radar. Only those who are willing to risk their lives to surpass themselves, like I have done, and like pretty much everyone who really lives well has done. Yeah. And then it opens up those spell-binding possibilities. You live in mystical land, in this amplified form of living. In this amplified form of living, we're not just true, totally loyal to and true to our core passion, but we express it to the utmost. Express it to the utmost, not wishy-washy. And in the expression of our core passion to the utmost, we're right there on the road to extraordinary. Right there on the road to extraordinary. And what is this road to extraordinary? This is when we are becoming, we're in the process of becoming a better version of ourselves. A far better version of ourselves in which there's no regret, no hesitation. When life calls you, no hesitation, you move. And there's no desire whatsoever towards wrongdoing in any form, especially the wrongdoing of wasting a precious human rebirth on non-essentials or on being a mercenary. We are not here to be a mercenary. We're here to love and to help other people prosper. Okay? So in this crafting of a better version of ourselves, finer version of ourselves, there is no regret, no hesitation, no desire whatsoever for wrongdoing, because we are fully engaged in sharing our talents with the world around us to make it a better place in whichever form, with music, with art, in athletics, whichever form. Yeah. We want to bring joy and fulfillment to the world. We're fully engaged in that. So while we are deeply engaged in doing what we need to do, the right thing at the right time, in the right way, the urge to discover even greater possibilities for how we can serve becomes a feverish compulsion for us. How else can I make a positive difference? What else can I do? I've tried this, it's done great work, but I'm sure there's more I can do. Yeah. We're constantly looking for creative ways in which to serve better. No time for trivia, none. And this is when we're fully engaged towards making a positive difference on the planet, that's when intrinsic motivation shoots right through the roof. Do you know what intrinsic motivation is? Intrinsic motivation means no longer egocentric drives for outer rewards, wealth, and perks and accolades. What most people are driven towards, not on the radar, intrinsic motivation. We work, we serve, not because of wanting anything back, but just because of the joy that pours out of us. Why? Because our ego has been allowed to be transpersonal, beyond the personal. Our ego is aligned with that which is transcendental, not worldly, transcendental. We have aligned ourselves through intrinsic motivation by engaging in personal refinement. We are aligned to transcendental forces, spiritual forces, universal forces. That's what we serve, universal forces. And then the absolutely amazing thing about that is we are prospered in amazing ways. We're enriched and prospered in ways that money and name and fame and power and accolades cannot do. Impossible. Life looks after us in the most miraculous ways, as it has done for me till now. And it has done for everyone who is no longer a mercenary. Are you understanding, please? So, such intrinsic motivation doesn't just secure us firmly in a joyful and rapturous route to awakening, it literally shortens the path. It literally shortens the path to awakening when we are motivated to serve the world as an expression of the love that is within us, not for any reward. That's what we do because that's what we are. Connected, one big family. But hello, to experience all these benefits that I've talked about, beautiful rebirth, get in touch with our calling at an early age, even later maybe, and to be on the path to wisdom and clarity and awakening, undeterred, no detours. It requires a shipload of merit. Shipload. So how do we get into this shipping business? Through the daily performance, through the daily outpouring of praiseworthy actions. Small things with great love. Brushing teeth with love. Washing dishes with love. Whatever we do with love. Can do. Yeah. The daily euphoric performance, joyful performance of praiseworthy actions that are saturated in love for oneself and the world around us. Because after all, an exemplary life is not a passive existence where we live and let live. No, that's not an exemplary life. An exemplary life is one related to compassionate involvement where we live and help live. Assist the people out there looking for happiness in all the wrong places. Look at all this, not in the shopping malls. It's not on Netflix. It's not in the social media. Happiness is not there. It's in personal refinement. Wake up. I have led in this birth an enchanted life, absolutely enthralling, enchanted life. Yes, I've been through, I've been in the ditch on several occasions. I've had my fair share of difficulties, but what I have achieved in this very life makes those difficulties nothing in comparison. The joy, the beauty, the blessings, ah, the hardships I've been through, I would do it anytime again. Ladies and gentlemen, born to be wise, take the moment of decision and step towards it. There's no joy outside of personal refinement. None. Not the authentic variety, anyway. Thank you for listening. Now we will look at what is personal refinement exactly in the next series or next sets of classes coming up. Stay tuned. Have a good day. Hallelujah.